Welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today I'm going to be discussing some of the warnings that I've been giving you guys over the last 3 months relating to the crypto markets. I'm also going to talk about the crypto ETFs, and that could be important in the future and where cryptocurrency is going. I'm also going to discuss the Powell speech that's going to happen on December the 1st, which could give the markets direction whether it's going to go up or go down in the beginning of December. And then you also have the market sentiment that I want to discuss. And I'm going to share a little bit about basically what I'm getting ready to do when it comes to my portfolio. Now, first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. And if you guys like these videos that I make, the support links are down below in the description and also the comment section. Now, Bitcoin is currently sitting at 90,864, Ethereum at 2,992, XRP at $2.20, Solana at 136, Dogecoin at 14, almost 15 cents, Cardano 41.5 cents, Chainlink at $13, XLM at 25 cents, Shiba Inu at 8550, and Kronos at almost 11 cents. So what I have done, and I've shared this with my group, that I unstaked anything that I had staking. And some of them, can take 2 weeks or even up to 30 days before I can get those tokens and use those tokens. And I'm doing that because I know that we're getting ready to head into some volatility. And so those cryptocurrencies I want to have available to swing trade because of the market volatility. Okay, so what I'm expecting is Bitcoin to reach 93, 94,000. Some of the chart readers say at the most it'll go back up to 98,000. And then from there it'll crash down to 74,000 and potentially further down than that to the 60 or 50,000 range. So I'm going to prepare for that, mostly with the cryptos that I haven't sold off yet, is to use stop losses, which I've talked about for the longest time. And if many of you would have been using stop losses back when Bitcoin was, above 100,000, you would be in a lot better position now. And a lot of times I see people they watch and consume all these prophetic dreams and visions and all that stuff relating to cryptocurrency, and yet you won't take out the time to learn how to trade, or at least learn how to put in stop losses. And then you're wondering why things are not turning out in the way that you want them to. And a lot of people have been disappointed with what a lot of the prophets said. A lot of prophets said 2025 was the year of the wealth transfer, and here we are getting ready to go into 2026. Right? So a lot of people had a lot of expectations, especially from the Trump administration. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, that the Trump administration in its relation to crypto has been pretty dismal. Much of the stuff that they said they were going to do should have been done already. It is what it is, and you have to deal with the hand that you were dealt. And I think most people that were involved in crypto expected 2025 to be much different than it has been. And the overall market sentiment is pretty poor right now, folks. And I can prove it by saying this. Right? If you know somebody that's asking you about cryptocurrency and what cryptos to invest in, which ones would you tell them? And what would you tell them in relation to the volatility in the markets? Because if your best friend or a family member or a church member asks you about, hey, I got $5,000 to put in, whatever you tell them, you always have to explain how volatility the markets are, and it's going to be an instant turnoff. Hopefully you guys don't promote the meme coins to these new investors, especially these Christian investors, which I know some of them, over the past 4 or 5 months they have been, and those tokens have gone to basically nothing. So the overall sentiment for the crypto markets is terrible. And everybody's waiting on Bitcoin to go up. Everybody's waiting on institution money to pour into Bitcoin. And people have to realize that institutions trade off of the charts too. They trade off the history too. They're not bullish like you guys, where you guys dump your money into any coin. So you don't think that they're seeing the same thing as what Ron Walker is saying or Jason Pizzazzo is saying, right? I've shared with you guys and been warning you for over 3 months now about what could happen within the markets. We may not get that altcoin run that you are looking for. And I'm sharing with you right now. So back in 2017, when the bull run was at its peak, there were only 1,128 cryptocurrencies. In 2021, there was only 15,000 cryptocurrencies at the peak of the bull run. in 2021, right? And then now we look at, as of November 23rd, there were 27.5 million cryptocurrencies tracked by CoinMarketCap. And at the beginning of this year, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong said there were 1 million new cryptocurrencies created every week. And so you have all these different cryptocurrencies, and so you have all this liquidity spread out among all these coins. And partly one of the reasons why this has happened is because of greed. Everybody's trying to get into the next meme coin or the next new coin that's supposed to be able to do this or that and is better than, the top 100 coins and all this and all that. And then look, all that liquidity is spread out. So this is one of the reasons why we are not getting the bull run like we thought that we would right now. People talk about quantitative easing. That doesn't necessarily mean that all that money is going to go into crypto and it's going to go into your favorite meme coins, right? They could, all that money could go into AI or the stock market. Yeah, it could go into Bitcoin. I think there's going to be more of a trickle down effect, but it's not going to go into all the coins that you guys may think that it's going to. There's a lot of people promoting quantitative easing, that it's going to pump the crypto markets. And look, folks, there's so many cryptos out there. And I think, what's really going to happen in the future is you're going to see so many coins just go flat. You're going to see so many developers stop working on their projects. You're going to see a lot of coins delisted. And you have to be careful of all that, because that's what we went through in 2022 and 2023. Think about it, folks. 1 million new cryptocurrencies are created every week. So when people create these, they add liquidity to it. Then everybody pours into some of these, hoping for the next meme coin to take off. But this is going to be very important for the future when we look at the list of cryptos that have pending ETFs, right? This is excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And most of these should be approved. Cardano, Aptos, Aave, Axelar, Atom, AVAX, Bitcoin Cash, Binance Coin, Bonk, Kronos, Dogecoin, Polkadot, Athena, HBAR, Hype, INJ, Chainlink, Litecoin, Melanie, Near Protocol, OKB, Ondo, Pango, SEI, Solana, SUI, BitSensor, Tron, Trump, Uniswap, Stellar, and Ripple. And then Shiba Inu is in a multi-currency ETF. So I think after I sell my portfolio off, I'm going to change a lot of the tokens that I'm in. Right? And in the future, in the long term, and you'll probably see more ETFs of different coins added, but I think that we need to focus on the coins that actually have case use, that actually have utility. And I think a lot of meme coins are going away. Once the United States passes that crypto bill, you're probably going to see even more meme coins go away, and your average meme coin is not going to make it on an American exchange. And actually the EU rules haven't fully taken effect either. So that's coming down the road. So I think it's going to be very important that you pay attention to those. This is on my community page, and you can go there. And just to kind of give an example, like you have Gemini, new perp contracts, Boink, Dogecoin, Floki, Pepe, Shiba Inu, Dog Wi-Fi Hat. So that's just a handful, and there's actually more that were added on that. And some of those have ETFs. And guess what? Some of those cryptos have pending ETFs that will more than likely be approved. Then you have Coinbase on December the 12th, new U.S. perpetual style futures launch for all altcoins. Assets launching: Shiba Inu, Avalanche, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, Chainlink, Dogecoin, HBAR, Litecoin, Polkadot, SUI, Stellar. These are all tokens that have pending ETFs. So I think in the long term, you guys need to really look at, the coins that you get into, right? I know there's been a lot of prophetic promises made about certain coins. I'm sorry, your BNB Frog is not going to make a $1 billion market cap. I'm sorry about some of those other meme coins and tokens that people prophesied about are not going to be around in the next couple of years, and you'll be very lucky to even get your money out of some of those now. I mean, this is the thing. When the rug pulled Digimon Rabbit was prophesied again, I looked at all the liquidity and looked at the volume and all the money that went into that token. Over $1 million went into that token, and only to have $7,500 of liquidity left. Many people who put in $500, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 are not going to be able to get their money out. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of the tokens that we want to go up aren't going up, because we have spread ourselves out thin. right? Some people are saying, well, I prayed about it and this token's going to do very well. Well, yeah, maybe it did well, after 6 months, but then it crashed and crashed and burned. When people receive a word about anything to relate to any investment, is it long-term, short-term? And most people put long-term prophecies attached to them, and you have witnessed many, many coins crash and burn. Even from one profit alone, 20 plus coins crashed and burned. Now, of course, folks, I don't recommend anybody using leverage. If you're using perpetual contracts and you're using leverage, you're making a big mistake, because the market's going to go into so much volatility, people are going to continue to get wiped out. All right, now let's get into Jerome Powell's speech that is tomorrow, right? And this is very important because whatever he says, it could cause the markets to go up or it could cause the markets to crash. And most of the time when Powell speaks, it's not necessarily been really good for Bitcoin. So I'm going to go ahead and read some information that I think is valuable for everybody to see and understand what could happen for the rest of December. December 1st could decide the direction of Bitcoin and altcoins for the next few months. On December the 1st, Jerome Powell will deliver a major speech about the economy, inflation, labor markets, and future monetary policy. Now, folks, you already know that the economy is not really doing that great. We got a handful of stocks that are keeping the markets up. Inflation is still about the same. Gas has gone down, but energy prices are up. Labor markets are terrible. There have been a lot of layoffs over the last 3 months. And companies focusing on AI, there will always continue to be layoffs for the next 2 to 3 years. The speech comes just a few days before the FOMC meeting, where markets are already pricing an almost 80% chance of a December rate cut, which is true. So sometimes, people are expecting a pump of the markets when they announce a rate cut. But so if they announce a rate cut, that's already been basically priced in. Whatever Powell says on December 1st will immediately shape expectations for that meeting. At the same time, the Federal Reserve is officially ending quantitative tightening after running it for more than 3 years. The last time quantitative tightening ended in 2019, altcoins and Bitcoin outperformed for months. Well, the difference is, if it's ending on the same day and then you get all this negative news coming from the Federal Reserve, well, it's going to cancel that out. Even the 2020 crash didn't fully erase that strength. Once quantitative easing came back, altcoins entered a long uptrend. The structure forming today is very similar. I shared with you guys that there wasn't many cryptocurrencies back in 2020 or 2021. There was only 15,000 at the peak of the markets in 2021. So I'm pretty sure it was probably like around 10,000 altcoins maybe in 2020. So that is a big difference between then and now, because there's 24.5 million coin market cap tracked coins. Because quantitative easing is ending on the same day Powell speaks, markets are also watching for any hint about when the Fed could restart quantitative easing. And just because they restart it doesn't mean that that money is going to flow into all these different cryptocurrencies that you currently have. As I shared with you before, you guys need to be looking at these top coins that have ETFs and coins that actually have utility and case use. Other major economies, Japan, China, Canada, are already easing or preparing to ease. If Powell even slightly aligns with that direction, global liquidity expectations will jump, and crypto usually reacts the fastest. Well, I just have to, that remains to be seen. The last Powell speech was hawkish and immediately weakened Bitcoin's momentum. But if this time he focuses more on the weakening labor market and less on inflation, the probability of a December rate cut becomes almost certain. That single shift can support the relief rally already happening in Bitcoin and altcoins. Now, folks, I watched a video where this guy showed every rate cut and how it affected cryptocurrency. There's always like a 2 to 3 day bump, and then the markets tank from there. So I don't put any value on cutting the rates. Been through all that many times before over the last several years. And if you haven't learned by now, well, you need to learn today. If Powell signals room for more cuts, crypto strengthens. If he says the Fed can't cut much further, that rally can retrace. I don't necessarily agree with that. If inflation is seen as stable through tariffs and other tools, and unemployment continues moving towards the danger zone, the market will expect more rate cuts through 2026. Yes, because they should have already been cutting rates, and he waited too long. But I don't think Powell really cares because he doesn't really like Trump. I mean, look at all the things Trump has said about him. He's called him all kind of names and stuff like that because he won't do what Trump wants him to do. I mean, just think about it if you're a boss and you can't get rid of somebody because their contract doesn't end and you can't get them to do what you want to do, so you call them a whole bunch of names. And that's exactly what he's been doing. But if Powell focuses on rising inflation, the crypto markets will start the next leg down. And that's very true. Bitcoin sold off after the last two FOMC meetings. The next FOMC meeting decision is on December the 10th. The question now is whether this time will be different. So this part is a warning, and just because the last couple FOMC meetings, it affected Bitcoin negatively. Bitcoin sold off after the last two FOMC meetings. The next FOMC decision is on December the 10th. The question now is whether this time will be different. So you got the Powell speech on December the 1st, which could cause the markets to tank. And then you also have December the 10th, which is the FOMC meeting. Then you have the CPI and some other things that are coming out that week. So Monday, you got Powell's speech. You got quantitative easing ending, PMI data, ISM manufacturing data. Wednesday, additional PMI and IMS data. Thursday, jobless claims and the U.S. trade deficit. On Friday, the PCE inflation data. Big volatility ahead. So yeah, you are going to see things moving up and down. And so I just want you guys to be prepared for what is to take place in December. And as I shared before, after Bitcoin potentially breaks through 74,000 and goes down to that 60 to 50,000 range, then we'll see another bounce potentially up to 100,000. So I just posted this in my community, and this is from Ron Walker relating to what's going on with the Bitcoin markets. And this is the short version of it without having to play some of the video. Since he's been on point all year, right? Not perfect, but he's been on point. He said bounce to low to mid 90,000s, at most 98,000, then drop to 74,000. If that doesn't hold, then 63,000, then 57,000, then back up to the 90 to 100,000 range. Right? So that's what I am waiting for. So I'm preparing for that, and I think that depending on your trading level, you should prepare for it too, or you can weather the storm and wait to see what happens. If it does drop all the way that low, then you'll just be waiting for it to go back up. But I do think going into 2026, we're going to see some very low cryptocurrency prices again. And I just want people to be in a position to do that. But you can't do that if you're always watching prophecy videos. If you're watching more prophecy videos than learning how to trade videos, you're going in the wrong direction and you're not preparing yourself to be a Joseph. All right, folks, so that is all that I have for this today. I thank you guys for listening. God bless.